Today on Q&J, who's taller, you or me? The answer will surprise you.
Q and J.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Q&J. It's been a couple weeks, I think 3 weeks, I think, since my last one. So it's time to do another one. As always, it's Friday, time to do a Q&J. Things are good. Let's answer some questions. Now, there was a lot of questions. Now, I must preface this, or preface this, depending on how you pronounce it. I won't be going over all the comments today because obviously I read them ahead of time, and there was a huge debate. And I will go over the debate and where I stand on the debate. Yes. So, yeah. And obviously, it's opinions in a lot of cases, because no one knows. I'll discuss that in a second. So we'll start off with Tim Whitehead saying, "Hey Jay, thanks for answering my question, but I must take an issue with the voice you used. It's not that high pitched. LOL." I apparently impersonated him in the last video, which I did. And then the next question is from also Tim. Now Tim asked me a question, and there's a bit of a debate with Grandad Ron. And, they both made excellent points. Basically, it comes down to is Tim is wondering what I feel about GW prices. Do I feel that they're overcosted? And if so, why would GW increase their prices? You know? And he's saying that basically because he defends GW, he ends up being insulted a lot and being called a fanboy, which can happen, unfortunately. GW has become kind of the punching bag of the miniature wargaming community. You know, they become the one that people love to hate, in essence. You know, very rarely do you see a video online that people bash Privateer Press, you know, Corvus Belli, Fantasy Flight Games, you know, and get any views. But as soon as people bash GW, lots of views. GW is kind of the ones people love to hate. And the prices is one of the things that people take a lot of note to. So what are my thoughts on it? Do I feel that GW... I did this in a vlog about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And it got a lot of views. Do I think GW's prices are too expensive? And the answer is, unfortunately, yes for a lot of individuals, no for the community. You know, I think they're a little high. I do agree. They are a little high. If they were a little bit lower, they'd sell more stuff. But the community still buys stuff. That's the thing. GW is still selling tons of products. And they're still really popular. It's still the number one game. You know, the number one game is still 40K. So, yeah. Do I feel that they're slightly high? Yeah, I do. But the reasons behind them being high, I personally have no idea, you know? And I know people like to chalk it up to, as you said in your post, profit. And your big question to me is, do I feel that their price hikes are purely for profit? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I know I love saying the same sentence, that all generalizations are false. And being itself a generalization. But saying that 100% of their prices are purely for profit, it can't be, you know? And the problem is I don't run a multi-billion, million-dollar organization. They got to have increased costs, perhaps in, you know, productivity costs, you know, materials costs. I don't know. I do know for a fact that pretty much anything that has to get shipped gets more expensive, because these days gas prices are just insane. So that alone. Another reason that people who've talked to me from shops, like I do have these conversations with shop owners, it happens unfortunately in areas like Canada and US. Now I know that the price hikes go everywhere, but what I do find is that GW, when they release new products, they tend to look at the relative values of the dollars when looking at the prices, right? And they get set indefinitely. And unfortunately, right now, the Canadian dollar is at an all-time low compared to the British pound. So if a new product comes out today, that's not a codex, because codexes tend to be fixed costs. Their prices go up because they look at the cost. Like basically what I heard is a lot of the time GW sets their prices in pounds and then figures out what the currency matches are. And right now the Canadian dollar is particularly weak, which I have no idea how currency exchanges work. I am not that familiar in those kind of things. But that will end up making the prices insanely high in Canada. I do know in Australia, one of the reasons is probably shipping. You know, getting the models to Australia is really expensive because they're an island. You know? So, yes, I do feel models are expensive. No, do I feel that they're too expensive for the community because the community still buys them. And do I feel that the models are it's purely set for profits? No. Profits obviously do have something involved. I would be very naive to think that they don't. Because they're a publicly traded company and they need to make a profit. You know? But do I think all of their increase in prices are purely for profit? No. You know, I do know for a fact shipping is getting really expensive these days because the price of oil is so insanely high. Maybe fees. Maybe they're spending money elsewhere that they need to compensate for because they still continue to produce awesome miniatures. So that's where I fall. Obviously, there's a great discussion. Go check out the comments. Both Tim and Grandad Ron. Sorry, I might be reading that correct. They both make their points, and they both have their opinions, and I find actually strengths in both of them. But that's where I stand. All right, I do personally think that obviously the prices have gone up. Like they've almost doubled in the last 5 or 6 years in some cases. The reasons for the doubling, I don't believe is pure profit. I believe it's for other reasons as well. Profit has something to do with it, but it's not pure profit. Because all generalizations are false. It can't be 100% for greediness. It could be, but I doubt it. I don't know. That's where I fall. And I'm sorry you called a fanboy. I've been called it before, don't worry. It's just, as I said, GW is the company that everyone loves to hate now. And they'll be like that for a long time, I find. Yeah. So next question comes from Mini Warzone. Hi, Jay. If you were brand new to 40K but retaining the knowledge of it that you have now, then which army would you choose to start and why? Orcs. Yeah. Orcs. Reason being is I play for fun. They're still the most fun army. I'd start with Orcs. Green Tide, have a great time. If I was on a very limited budget, I'd stay with Grey Knights because they're the cheapest army to build. Imperial Knights are hilariously fun too, but no one will play against them, so yeah, I'd say Orcs. Yeah. Tyranids as well. I do love Tyranids. I love my Dark Angels. I love, all my armies, but Orcs are my most fun to play. Grot Tanks. Love them. Grandad Ron says, thanks for answers. Yeah, I do believe you are right. GW won't FAQ those issues. Nope, I don't think they will. And he's referring to the discrepancies between the current Space Marine Codex and the Space Marine codices that came out before it, like the Blood Angels Codex and the Space Wolf Codex. I don't think they're going to change for a while. No. And unfortunately, GW has not put out an FAQ this year. They really got to do it. They got to put out FAQs. Definitely. Murderfang is solid because it's a new plastic model, so it must sell. I wonder why they made Thunderwolf Cavalry so much better. Didn't they sell good? Yeah, they did. So, but they're just awesome. I love Thunderwolf Cavalry. They have their, Champions of Fenris is a great codex. Tabletop Banter says, hi Jay, love your content. Thank you very much, Tabletop Banter. Looking forward to more live shows too. Yeah, I gotta do more live shows. Gotta do more live shows. I just haven't had the time, unfortunately, but I gotta do more live shows. My question is, what is your favorite sculpt in 40K, i.e. nice looking 40K miniature? Ooh, good question. It has to be 40K. And I'm guessing you're saying GW, not Forge World. Good question. Because Forge World, I love the Dimacaron. 40K Sculpt. Ooh, that is a good question. There hasn't trying to think of the last model I just had to paint. I think the Tyranid models to me are the nicest sculpts lately. All the new Tyranid models, other than Toxicrene, which is just silly if you're trying to play with it. That's a good question. As far as sculpt goes, I really like the new look of the new Zoanthropes. Wraith Knight is a beautiful model. Yeah. But if you were thinking like 40k or 30k in general, I would go like Gilliman from Forge World is a beautiful model. That's one of the ones I really want to pick up and just paint because it's such a beautiful model. What other ones? Beautiful sculpts. Spock, here's my voice. Yeah. I would say the new Tyranids. They've been doing a lot of... every time they release a new Tyranid model, it tends to look really awesome. I love the look of them. So, yeah. Thank you very much for your question. David Parker says, "Hi Jay, I started collecting 40k about 3 months ago. 3 months before 7th dropped, and I'm looking to start my second army. Really, my first love army. Orcs. I love the Death Skulls, and since my first army was Space Marines, I plan on incorporating a lot of looted war gear into my army. Awesome. It's always cool to bring in thematics into your orc army. I'm currently working on converting 2 1/35th scale military truck models into Battlewagons. Perfect. I also picked up a Panzer 7 tank to convert as well. Excellent. What do you think would be a fun centerpiece tank to convert up using the Panzer 7? What do you think would be a fun centerpiece tank to convert up using the Panzer 7? I was thinking of building a Kill Crusher or a Mech Boy Junka. Yeah, I'd go Kill Blasta. I personally prefer the Kill Blasta over the Kill Crusher. That's just my opinion, but I like it better. I think it has better rules, and for the point says, I prefer the Kill Blasta tank. It's hilarious. Kill Crusher is cool too, but the other option is... Yeah, there's a lot of options. Where you build it. And what army would you suggest with using a 2 Battlewagon tank in the center? You have tons of options, actually. David Parker. Usually with Battlewagons, it has to have something good inside. You don't run Battlewagons unless there's something inside that you want to keep protected. So that's the case. You do your giant squads of Burna Boys, giant squads of Knobs, giant squads of Mega Knobs, War Boss attached to a Pain Boy and giant squad of Knobs or Mega Knobs. That kind of thing is usually what you put inside the battle. The Battlewagons, or just giant squads of boys with a warbot. You got to keep something precious in there. The other thing you may want to get is a big mech with custom force field. It helps keep your things alive. It really does. It'll really protect your Battlewagons. Another option is if you take the Goskal Thraka Detachment, you have access to a better custom force field. And then you just take the Knobs as your requirement, so it's a really sweet thing. Because they have access to the custom force field that gives a 4-up invulnerable save against shooting instead of the 5-up. And that'll keep your Battlewagons alive. So, a lot of options. The other option you can go is like Speed Freak Knob Bikers. So keep your important, scary things like Burna Boys in your Battlewagons, and then Knob Bikers just to bring a lot of the attention as well. And adds a lot of maneuverability. I hope that answers your question. Basically, you have tons of options. With Battlewagon spam, I wouldn't go Walker. That's the one that wouldn't fit in very well, but other options, you can fill it with Burna Boys, fill it with just boys in general, Knobs, Mega Knobs would be really sweet. Good stuff there. So, yeah, thank you very much for your comment and your question, David Parker. Next one's from Lex Chaotica. Says, thin Tamiya or guns acrylic with a cap full of rubbing alcohol, clean airbrush with alcohol Windex mix. There you go. I don't know what I was referring to, but it's okay. Doesn't have to make sense in my mind. Alferis Ormagon says, Jay, I made a Grey Knight list with an Astra Militarum allied detachment. The whole point of it was I had a giant 50-man conscript squad with Brother Captain Stern, a librarian, 2 priests, and 3 Primaris Psychers. So you're going psychic spam. Good stuff there. I like. I rolled on the divination table with the Primaris Psychers, of course, good idea, and got the 4+ invulnerable save. Awesome. Combined with Sanctuary from Stern and the Librarian, I had a 2-up invulnerable conscript squad that was strength 5 from Hammerhand and could reroll all failed to hit into wound rolls in Assault that ran around the board and managed to kill a Wraith Knight. This list came out at about 1,250 points. Was wondering what to add. I bring my inclinations instantly to jump to Drynights. Because the funniest thing about the list is people will completely ignore the squad that's so scary as they go around the table killing things as soon as they see Dreadknights. To me, Dreadknights would add a lot of maneuverability to your list, especially if you're playing like Maelstrom of War. Get them the jump packs, they're good to go. Sword, jump pack, side cannon, incinerator. They'll deal with a lot of stuff, and they'll also give you a lot of killing power as well. So you can send your Death Star one way, and then these two guys just bounce on the table, plus they add more psychics to your list. So I'd say Dreadknights. Dr. Octopus, one of my favorite YouTuber names of all time, says, will you ever get a song about your favorite things? The people need to know. Maybe. Maybe one day. Like, I remember the days back, you guys should look up the video, where Matt and Dave from Mini Wargaming did the Tyranid Chaos Bat Rap. I really should do my version of it, of all the things I like. That'd be good. On a less comical note, will any Marine army you own ever make its way over to the Horus Heresy? Because Space Marine Baneblades, big yellow Baneblades. That'd be cool. I'd love to do a Horus Heresy army. I don't think the ones I own right now, because the Grey Knights, Imperial Fists, and Dark Angels, no. But a Horus Heresy army would be really cool. So very good question, Dr. Octopus. Baneblades. I think I'm selling all my Baneblades. That'll be okay. I've sold one so far. Yeah, I think I've sold one of my Baneblades. Next question. Sorry, I'm switching computers, which is why I have to move a little bit more. Wanted to check out the Warp. Not available in my country. Well, this is from Zissy DJX. Now, Zissy DJX, if you're watching this video, what country? Because since this was put up, I've added 3 more countries to the Warp, including Japan. Japan was my most recent one. I had to change some of the things. Like, there's a couple more criteria that your channel has to meet if you go in Japan. So I did. I wanted to get the Japanese people involved in the Warp. Unfortunately, I don't speak Japanese, so it's all in English, but still, that's actually one of the criteria. I had to implicitly mention that in my channel, I don't speak Japanese. But it's okay. Scarcast. Scary. How's it going? Conundrum. Says, I loved your YouTube tips. I have a question for you about airbrushing. Any cool tips for a ventilation system? A ventilation system, are you referring to the, what are they called? The spray boxes? If so, Scary, I don't have a lot of experience with them. I tend to work in my workshop, windows open. I have a good draft going through, and I wear a mask, so I don't really have a problem with them. But the WGC has done several reviews on spray boxes, including cheap ones, medium ones, and expensive ones. So I'd recommend going and check out the WGC videos at the WG Consortium. You know which ones I'm talking about, which YouTube channel. And they actually have some great reviews on some spray boxes, as does Last from Awesome Paint Job. So I'd recommend checking them. Unfortunately, I don't use spray boxes. I really should, but I don't, unfortunately. I heard the good ones. They can get some decent ones from TCP Global for a good price. Or you can go directly from Badger. But I think TCP Global in the States sells some really good ones. But of course, you're Canadian, so I don't know why I'm saying that. But it's okay. So, yeah, that's... Hopefully you get the information you're looking for there. Richard Gunn says, thanks so much for answering my question. Here's another question. Given how the Canadian economy is doing, how do you feel about there now being an election called? It happens. We've had a lot. Thing is, for many years we had a minority government, so we always had a fragile system. And we went through, there was a period where we had 3 elections in 4 or 5 years. Right now, so the news over here, UK, seems to indicate Canada's issues are to do with falling oil prices. I wondered, as a person on the ground, if that's your take on the issues in Canada at the moment. Also, what do you think of the Mototronica terrain for Infinity? It's cheap and easy to pack, being made of paper, and I figured great for people without money for a proper board. Yes, I've actually heard great things about it. I heard it's cheap. You get what you pay for, but I heard a lot of people like it. What do you make of using such a train for 40k? I don't know about for 40k, because the models tend to be a little bit heavier. Actually, to be fair, Infinity models can be really heavy too. Like their tags. You could. To be fair though, the fit, like an idea of the materials could work, but the terrain look itself wouldn't really fit for 40k. No. Because the Infinity terrain doesn't fit in the 40k universe kind of thing. It doesn't seem to have the same theme. But what do we think of the Canadian election? Right now, the economy is the big thing everyone's debating about. Right now, it's really weird because the Liberals are battling the Conservatives are battling the Liberals, but all polls show that the NDP, which is like the most right-wing party that we have, is going to win. But no party is attacking them. So it's going to be interesting. The economy is the big issue right now because the Canadian economy is not doing very well. Obviously, relative to Britain, United States, and China, we're getting our butt kicked. So that's the big thing. Oil prices are a big thing. Not really terrorism, though some people try to bring that up. I don't really think that's a big thing. Jobs are the big thing. Taxes are the big thing. So it always comes down to money. People think whichever person can get me the most money. Yeah. It happens. Also, right now, if you're not Canadian, basically what's happening is the son of arguably the most popular president, the most loved prime minister of all time was Pierre Trudeau. And his son, Justin Trudeau, is the leader of the Liberal Party. And that's why everyone tends to battle against him, because they think because he's a Trudeau, he's going to win based on his name. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's understandable. I would not compare this to like George Bush and George W. Bush. I'd say it's like if Reagan's kid ran for president. Yeah. Dr. Deathmonger says, "You're awesome, Jay." Thank you very much, Dr. Deathmonger, as are you. I have 2 questions. What changes would you make to 7th edition codex for Chaos Space Marines to bring them in line with other 7th edition codices? A lot. More than I could say. Little things. Karn the Betrayer deserves a better invulnerable save. I think he needs at least a 4 or a 3 up. Because he's very squishy. He has no Eternal Warrior. That or give him Eternal Warrior. If you give Karn the Betrayer Eternal Warrior, he's an insanely strong HQ. But right now, his fragility sucks. Another thing, points costs just aren't aligned. Like the amount they have to pay for Predators, for Land Raiders, for everything is not well aligned with Space Marines. So if you could align up the points cost with a lot of the vehicles, that'd be good. They need a solid anti-air choice. And I'd argue access to better... The thing is, right now there's a lot of synergy between Chaos Space Marines and Demons, which can fill in some of their gaps. But as a codex on alone, it's a really weak codex on its own. I would love to see, personally, points drops for Thousand Suns. Because to me, they're a really cool faction, and more Thousand Suns would be amazing. Because if you could find a way to make Thousand Suns the front runner for the factions of Chaos, they're awesome on their own. They have a 4-up invulnerable save. They have AP3 bolters. That would wipe out meta. Like, that would be really strong against Eldar. That'd be really strong against Tal. It'd be really strong against Space Marines. So if they could just simply, a points cost drop on Thousand Suns alone would make them arguably much more competitive and a great thematic list. They got to do something with Khorne, other than the Khorne Demonkin book, obviously, because I think your question is more pertaining to a solo codex. They need to make Khorne Berserkers more viable, because they're not. They're just running around getting shot to death. Yeah, and then just simple points aligning. If they aligned Chaos Space Marines with Space Marines, that'd be huge. Huge. But thank you very much for your questions. Master Waylon says, "Hi, Jay. You were so fast with the making of the previous episode that I missed the chance to ask." No problem. Never mind. Good to see Q and J back in the action. Exactly. And also, it was good to hear that you remember my crying for Painting with Jay from so long ago. Actually, yes, Master Dwaylen was one of the people who really suggested I bring back Painting with Jay. And I love it, and people love it. So thank you very much, Master Dwaylen. Here's my question for this episode. There are rumors of a plastic horse heresy range from GW. Yeah, I've heard these for a long time. Last 4 months. We've seen pics of sprues as well. So are you interested in 30K? Yes, totally. If they came out in plastic kits that were available at a local GW, totally. I just can't afford, 30K from Forge World. No, the Canadian dollar right now is less than, like, a pound is worth more than $2 Canadian. It's so expensive to buy. But yes, very cool stuff. Thank you for your answer, and I hope you had a great Gencon. I did. Thank you very much for asking. So, yeah, I would be interested. If it ever comes out. Josh Tucci says, hi Jay, quick question. What do you think are the best units of the Tyranid Codex besides the Flyrant? Flyrant! No kidding. The best units... Alright, for each slot, let's go through this, okay? The best HQ is the Flyrant. Bar none. Best HQ, double Flyrant, awesome sauce. For the elite slot, I would argue that it's between Hive Guard, Lictors, or Zoanthropes, depending on what role you want them to fill. I personally prefer Hive Guard, because the problem is Zoanthropes. You can put Zoanthropes in a pod, and they become very successful unless you face an army that will shut down psychic powers, like demons, like Drynights, Eldar. They will shut down your psychic powers, and they will choose to shut down your Warp Lance, because that's the one that everyone's target. So if you face an army that doesn't have a lot of anti-psychic powers, 5 Zoanthropes in a pod will destroy anything a turn. And then they'll tie things up. Hive Guard, though, I love Hive Guard. I've loved them since the beginning. It sucked when they got one less ballistic skill. But Hive Guard are awesome. They're strength 8. Ignore cover. AP4. So they'll force Ravenwing to take their 3-up armor. No rerollable jinx. They'll wound on 2s. They can take on any armor other than, 14 around. They're pretty strong. So I'd say Hive Guard for the elite slot. They're, in my opinion, the best. Troops, unfortunately... Well, no. Troops, the best choice is Hormagaunts, by far. But what I do tend to take more is Warriors, because Warriors are Synapse. Hormagaunts with Toxin Sacks are my favorite thing. A giant squad of 30 of them running at something will eat anything to death a turn. They can take on a Wraith Knight. And possibly... Does Toxin Sacks work? Maybe not. Maybe Toxin Sacks don't work against a Wraith Knight anymore. They'll take on a lot of stuff and eat anything to death. They eat Terminator squads for breakfast. I love them. Warriors are arguably a best choice because they're Synapse and they keep themselves in gear. Versus Hormagaunts, where you get them out of Synapse, they can kill themselves. Fast Attack, I rarely use. Yeah. Right now, people really do like the cheap HQs or just the little spores. That's what people really like. And then Heavy, I argue the best Heavy slot choice is the Moloch. It's not that controversial, but I think it is the best. Because the Strength 6 AP2 Large Blast, these days a lot of things rely on cover. And these guys are awesome because they ignore cover. They'll kill Ravenwing galore. And they're a large blast. And if you don't kill what you land on, you do it again. So I like Molochs. Molochs are awesome. And they always have the potential to be more offensive before they're shot to death. And they're fun for shenanigans later in the game. Because if your opponent doesn't deal with them, on like turn 4, you can throw them under the ground and then pop them up automatically turn 5 or 6 on your opponent's objectives and score things. I get tons of points by scoring objectives with Molochs. So I'd say Molochs. And that's that in a nutshell. Tyranids, though. They need a new codex. They really do. They need some bumps. Another thing you could do is Toxic Arena in a drop pod. They're pretty nasty, too. If you're thinking Forge World, I'd go like Melanithrope. Because they're awesome. They're like Venomthropes on steroids and better in every way. They're about the points cost of 2 Venomthropes, but they're way better. Way better. Andrew McCormick says, hi Jay, my girlfriend is starting a Skitarii Admech army and loves Imperial Knights. As it's her birthday coming up and my bonus came through, I've decided to pick her up a 2,000 point army with bits of all three. I thought, great, I get to spoil her rotten on models, and then I will have a new gaming partner. True. That was until I saw the formation in White Dwarf, Adeptus Mechanicus War Convocation. Type it into preferred search engine and prepare to cry. Formation of formations using Skitarii battle manifolds. A combined arms detachment of AdMech and between 1 to 3 Imperial Knights. Oh, perfect for you. The Get Hot rule is ignored for all models. Wow. And all upgrades are free. Skitarii Plasma is 30 points per model, and you can take 2 to 3 per squad without Gets Hot for free. Net upgrades free. The best one, though, is the Catacron Destroyers. Cataphron Destroyers, which each are heavy 2, blast plasma weapons without Gets Hot. Yeah. So, and they can go in a squad of 12. I'm considering having someone kidnap my other half so that I can play with her army. Would you know anyone who could provide this service? Very good question. I didn't see that coming in. Unfortunately, I don't know anyone that could provide this service. But that's awesome. I got to look that up. I'm going to look up the rules after this video. That is amazing. Wow. Ability to upgrade for free and ignore Gets Hot is huge, because that's pretty much the only drawback of plasma weapons is Gets Hot. So that's amazing. Good job finding that. Thank you very much, Andrew McCormick. Command the Dark Guard, or CMD, the Dark Guard. You seen the new Chaos Knight on Forge World? Yes, I like it. No one else does for some reason, but I do. I will say that I like it. Nice looking model, and rules are quite interesting, as they now get a 5++ if you take a Chaos alignment. Plus the points, they now get a 5-up invul. Maybe all around. Plus the points seem more balanced when compared to Wraith Knights. Your opinion? Yeah, the points costs are more balanced for it. I love it. I think it's going to be handy. Plus it is nice to see Chaos get a toy like that. I really like it. I know some people are saying it's more expensive for the dollar's worth, and some people don't like the look of it. I personally like the look of it, and I think it's a pretty balanced point model. Plus it gives the Chaos the access to some fun toys. Dark Danigan says, hi Jay, could you tell us a bit about what the visitor experience is like at a convention with like Gencon or Adepticon? It looks like a seething mass of people, but it is easy enough to get about and see all the things you want to see without spending 75% of your time in lines or peering over people's heads. That's very different. Gencon and Adepticon are two very, very almost polar opposite conventions. Adepticon is solely about war gaming. It's much smaller. There's less than 10% of the people at Adepticon than Gencon, right? It was about 5,000 at Adepticon, 60,000 at Gencon. So yes, other than the day the stores open, you can really get around. All the games at Adepticon seem to be very separated, so they keep themselves organized, and you can walk around very easily, no problems at all. Gencon, you go to Gencon because you love board games and a little bit of wargaming, but it's mostly about board games, and it is a giant mass of people. You can organize event, you can get to most of your events, and it's just, you have to get used to being surrounded by a lot of people. There's really never a time that you're not surrounded by tons of people, unless you're in a small room for one of your events that you're doing. But they're two very different experiences. Very different. But thank you very much for your question. Siri, for some reason.
Sure I am.
My Siri keeps turning on. It's weird. Benislav says, Nids were not 7th. No, I didn't say that they were. They're 6th. Their dropped update thing was released in 7th. The Astra Militarum was the last 6th, and Orcs were the first 7th. Yes, you are correct. So right now, we actually don't have that many left of 6th editions. We have Adeptus Sororitas. We have... All Space Marines are done. Astra Militarum. Tyranids. Tau. But apparently Tau's coming up. Chaos Space Marines, which really need the most. Maybe some Demonkin books. That's it. What other ones are there? Nope, that's it. Pretty much everything. We're a lot of 7th edition books right now. Daniel Jefferson says, hey Jay, massive fan. Thank you very much for your question, or your comment, Daniel Jefferson. One question for you. Do you think that the the spam of codices is a panic by GW, or more of a case it is to see what sticks, i.e. Necron book being very strong 7th edition, yet Blood Angels being weak. I don't think it's to throw things against the wall and see what sticks, and I don't think it's panic either. I actually say it's kind of short-term profits, as well as they understand, I think GW knows, that one of their problems was codex creep. So it is a way of essentially fixing it. Plus, it was to my thought was they were going to fill our time with 40k while stalling fantasy. And then once fantasy gets, Age of Sigmar is going to become huge again, and then they'll go back to a little bit of 40k stuff, because then, but my opinion was it's a great short-term profit scenario, because everyone who has that codex has to upgrade, plus it pretty much eliminated codex creep. Like when 3/4 of the armies are 7th edition now, they're all have 7th edition codices. Now, obviously, some are stronger than others. Necron's super strong. Blood Angels, not very strong. Orcs. But, I don't think it's to see what sticks. I think it was just short-term profits and try to get a balanced, eliminate the long-term codex creep. Yeah. My opinion. But thank you very much for your question, Daniel Jefferson. Sebastian Hailstrom says, Tau Supremacy Battlesuit, have you seen it? Yes, it is hilariously awesome. If so, what do you think of it? Hilariously awesome. If it's in fact the new, because there's always been rumors for the last few months that Tau are getting a new battlesuit. Instead of it's the same size as Riptide, and it's apparently the Tau Supremacy Battlesuit. And I think it's gonna be really strong, because that's what we need, another Riptide. It's going to be pretty strong. Yeah. Question is, what role? The question is, what role will it fill? Is it going to be a Lord of War, or is it going to be a heavy? That's what I'm wondering. I think it should be a Lord of War, but we'll see. Yeah. And thanks for the great content. Well, thank you very much for the compliment, Sebastian Hailstrom, and the question. Small Mock. Wow, we're on the home stretch. Says, hi Jay, it's been a bit since I asked my last question, so here are two for you. First is that I've been building my Tau army, and as it stands, I have all but more expensive models at least put together. However, I soon realized that with being the only one around here where I live, playing what I wanted to pick up a second army, so that whenever I would want my friends to play... Sorry, the screen's being a little wonky right now. It's harder to read. Harder to play it. They have an army to do it with. Yes. So my third thought was Nids, as I love their models and how they look, but knowing how quickly I could gun them down with Tau makes me scared of buying them. Any thoughts on how to make the army somewhat survivable against a gun line? For Tyranids, you'd have to go mass troops or mass monstrous creatures. Tau gun lines, Molochs. Molochs will deal with Tau gun lines really easily because the giant, large blasts that ignore cover will eat through them. Hiveguard will eat through Tau gun lines because Hiveguard have strength 8 AP4 guns that ignore cover, so they just hit a Tau Fire Warrior and it dies instantly. It dies on 2s because it can't survive, and it can't go to ground behind an Aegis defense line. And Flyrants can survive. It's an uphill battle. It will be an uphill battle, Tyranids versus Tau, but you either need a giant amount of bodies on the table with Venom Thropes behind them to give them cover, to force the Tau Fire War, to force the marker lights in certain directions, or you just go tons of Hiveguard, double Flyrant, that'd be really strong, and I think you need warriors in the back to keep everyone in gear. That's it. It's an uphill battle. unfortunately. You could take something like a... would also be really good would be the base Tyrannifex with its flamer. That'd be pretty good against Tau gun lines. Hope that answers your question. And my second question is, what are your thoughts on D-weapons of Eldar? Did they truly need that to be with them, or is that favoritism of GW? I don't think they really needed it, to be honest. I really don't. They're one of the few armies that actually has access to D-weapons for shooting. Pretty much the only, like, there are very few that do. I don't think they needed it. They would have been very, very strong still without them. The bike lists are still very strong. But they have them. It happens. Is it favoritism by GW? Maybe. GW, Eldar and Space Marines have always been GW's babies. You know, Phil Kelly, it's his army. Eldar. Phil Kelly. Baby. So, yeah. I don't think they really needed them, to be honest. I think they would be still very strong in a top-tier army without them. That's okay. They're strong. Sherry360 says, hi Jay, love your energy you put into your vids, especially your bat reps. Thank you. I'm a newbie to 40k and watching your vids make me super keen to get my Dark Eldar assembled, painted on the table. Awesome. I'm glad you're playing Dark Eldar. Not enough people play Dark Eldar. I agree. Scary does. From Scarcast. Eric's Coins says, hey Jay, that rhymes. That does rhyme. Hey Jay. I'd give an arm and a leg to see my sleight of hand. See any sleight of hand. I hear you're a magician pickpocketer. Well, I'm not a magician, but I'm okay pickpocket apparently. I'm in the magic circle of Norway. There, for the name amateur coin magician. Awesome. Very cool. So you're actually like a sleight of hand person. Like that, you're a professional. That's awesome. Thanks for your channel and all your hard work, Eric. Thank you so much, Eric's Coins. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I do some. I'm not amazing with sleight of hand. I'm okay. I take a few elements of magic and I use it to annoy people. My favorite one was I stole a guy's entire army when he wasn't looking the other day at an event. That was funny. It was Stu, the guy I play battle reports with a lot. He's in this week's battle report. And finally, Jasper Larson says, hey Jay, thank you for all your good work and good content. Thank you very much for your compliment. It really means a lot. Like, seriously, going through Q&J and hearing these, like, your comments really makes my day. It really does. All you people who leave comments and just the positive feedback I get from you all in your comments, it really does make my day. I promise you that. It's awesome. As you know a lot about miniatures, I would like you to know if you know where to get some rams. I am on the lookout for some war rams in the size of Thunderwolves. Yes. I was looking at ram. Oh, where were they? I forget where I was looking at them. Was it my normal site that I look at? I think it was Reaper. Yeah, it was Reaper. I don't know how big they are, though. They're probably small. But I was on the Reaper website recently, and I saw there's miniatures where they're riding rams. I'm positive of that. I just don't know what size they would be. They'd probably be smaller than Thunderwolves. But they're the same thing. They're the guys riding rams as things. So it could be worth it. I'd recommend checking that out. Where else? I'm thinking War Mahords. I don't see any ram riders. Like, there's characters that are rams, but they're not the riding type. That's it. I check out Reaper. I think I could have sworn I saw them on Reaper. Yeah, on Reaper miniatures, but I just don't know how big they are, and unfortunately there's no real scale to it. But yeah, that's the only one I've seen. So that's it. That's this week's Q&J done in a nutshell. So thank you to all you people for leaving your comments, your questions, and everything on the previous video. It really does mean a lot when I read the positive comments. It makes me feel good in here. And unfortunately, I must end my videos like this, but if you do see value in my videos, please consider checking out my Patreon campaign, where the funds from that will hopefully fuel my free content, or go check out The Warp. As I said, I've added a few new countries, like Japan. You can go check out The Warp. Awesome stuff. So thank you so much for all you people for subscribing and viewing my stuff and being a part of the comments and the discussion and everything you do to support me. So thank you so much. Please leave comments in this video about any more questions you have, any comments you have on what I talked about, and I'll address them in the next video. So thank you all, as always, for watching. Thanks, and this is Jay saying.